I and the Magic Pen by Amber Gabriel. To my students. Chapter 1. Monday. Time to get up, called Aunt Misty. I groaned. I don't want to get up. Today is Monday. You have choir after school. Oh yeah. I love choir. Mostly because it makes the bus riders envious. If you stay for choir, you have to have another way to get home. Plus, you get to go on a special field trip at the end of each semester. I pulled on my faded blue jeans and a school spirit shirt. Where's my tablet? I yelled, searching frantically through the piles of laundry and stuffed animals on the floor of my room. Aunt Misty believes in natural consequences, which means I never have to clean my room. I just have to spend lots of time looking for things because they are always buried under something else. You plugged it in by the couch when you were watching that singing show. I raced into the living room and found my tablet sitting on the side table. Thanks! Shoving it into my backpack, I grabbed a banana off the kitchen counter and slid on a pair of flip-flops. You don't want to wear your tennis shoes? Asked Aunt Misty in the gentle, prodding tone that meant I really should wear my tennis shoes, but she wasn't going to make me. I have library today, not PE, I replied as I peeled the banana. Okay, said Aunt Misty with a raised eyebrow. Have a good day. The door swung shut behind me, and I skipped down the steps to the sidewalk. Aunt Misty only cooks one meal on weekdays, which means if I want more than a banana for breakfast, I have to get to school before the last bell rings. It's part of her not-so-secret plan to help me make good choices, but it works. It was a beautiful morning. The sun had just risen, and the cool fall air felt refreshing. Foundation Elementary was only 4 blocks away, and there were still students being dropped off when I arrived. A few, like me, were walkers. Their parents, older siblings, or neighbors walked with them. My friend Peyton, who came from the opposite direction, was waiting for me at the door. Mini pancakes for breakfast this morning, sang Peyton as we entered the double doors. We'd better hurry before they run out. The bag of hot, half-dollar-sized pancakes was one of my favorite breakfasts. I hurried down the hall to the cafeteria with Peyton. I cut the corner in my rush and bumped into another student coming out of the restroom. Hey, watch it, growled an angry voice. It was not just any student. It was Sammy, the tallest kid in the 4th grade. Sammy had a reputation for pushing, hitting, and calling names. At recess last week, a 4-square ball hit me in the back of the head, and I turned around to see that bully smirking at me. Everyone stayed out of Sammy's way. Sorry, I rushed past, hoping Sammy hadn't got a good look at me. Peyton and I made it to the breakfast line just as the bell rang. Yes, I grabbed the last bag of pancakes. Too bad for whoever came next. Except the next person was Sammy. I felt an intense glare on the back of my head as Sammy stood there with a tray of low-sugar oat cereal. It would be funny if it was anyone else Sammy was staring at. Hurry up, I hissed at Peyton, who was fumbling with the syrup packets. Fortunately, our classes sat on opposite sides of the cafeteria, so I wouldn't have to worry about Sammy anymore. Or so I thought. Peyton and I headed toward our table, where our friend Jayari sat waving at us. No sooner had I sat down and opened a bag of pancakes than a shower of milk and cereal spilled onto my tray. It dripped off the table and onto my clothes before I could get up from the bench. I turned and stared open-mouthed at Sammy, who grinned at me diabolically. Oops, Sammy laughed. I fumed, too angry to say anything. Across the room, I saw a monitor heading our way. If you tell on me, I'll punch out your lights. You owe me breakfast tomorrow. Yeah, snitches get stitches, another student chimed in. Sammy walked away. I stood up, and pieces of cereal fell off my jeans and onto the floor. Peyton gave me a look of sympathy. A few of the younger students pointed and giggled. What happened? Asked Mr. Mender, the cafeteria monitor. My knees were shaking, and I took a deep breath to calm myself. I had to make a quick decision. My cereal spilled, I lied. You'd better go to the office and ask them to call home for clean clothes, he said, without glancing at my tray. He might have asked more questions if he'd seen my pancakes. While you could pay for 2 breakfasts, even I was never that hungry. The receptionist called my aunt. Aunt Misty brought me fresh clothes, another pair of jeans and a superhero shirt, but my day was ruined. Not only were my pancakes soggy, but Sammy wasn't finished with me. I would forfeit my breakfast tomorrow as well. We should tell Mrs. Dixon, urged Peyton when I entered the classroom. She can help. I shook my head. Our homeroom teacher was sympathetic, but she wouldn't understand what a difficult situation this was. If Sammy tries to take your breakfast tomorrow, you should punch that bully in the nose, said Jari. That sounded scarier than telling. The rest of the day stunk. On the playground, a sliver of mulch stabbed my toe. Lunch was a disgusting pasta experiment gone wrong. I couldn't find my library books. A note was slipped into my locker that said breakfast stealer that I was sure Sammy wrote. To top it off, we started learning a new song in choir, and Mr. Cadenza got on to me for not paying attention. I dragged myself home only to be reminded that I had chores. Don't forget, you have to walk Miss Snow's dog. Our neighbor worked late on Mondays, and she paid me a couple of dollars to walk her ancient Labrador, which also meant picking up poop. Worst job in the world. Come on, Molasses, I snapped the leash on her collar. Her real name was Molly, but she walked so slowly that she might as well be a jar of sticky syrup. Molly ambled down the sidewalk, sniffing everything over a foot tall. At least she only peed today. By the time I returned Molly and got back to the house, Aunt Misty had started dinner, and I was starving. After only a banana for breakfast and a meager lunch, I could eat a whole pizza. What are we having for dinner? Leftovers, she announced cheerfully. It will go faster if you help put away these groceries. I went ahead and ran errands while I was out. Except I forgot to get more bananas. There's only one left. I noticed all the bags on the counter and sighed. Yeah, this day stunk.